The country are heading back to college this week. Many of them saddled with tens of thousands of dollars in debt, just like their parents, many of whom are still paying back their own student loans. Eamon Jarvis has the full story for us. It's a disturbing one as well, Eamon.
Yeah, that's right, Mandy, as a lot of parents are watching their children go off to college this week, worried about how to pay for the tuition. A lot of those parents are worried about how to pay off their own student loans as well, a legacy from loans they took out years or even decades ago. Take a look at this data that comes from the New York Fed about folks aged 50 to 59 years old. In 2005, they owed $34 billion on student loans, but in 2012, they owed $112 billion. Now, we talked to one credit counselor who said that a lot of folks are simply overwhelmed by this kind of data.
30% of my clients are in that bracket of 50 and older, either worrying about paying back their children's loans or paying back their loans. And a lot of them just say, I'm going to die before I pay this off.
And Mandy, take a look at one last statistic here. This is people ages 60 and over. 60 and over, people, many of whom are eligible to collect Social Security. In 2005, they owed $8 billion in student loans, but in 2012, they owed $43 billion in student loans. So for many American families, Mandy, student loan debt is becoming a lifetime or even multi-generational problem.
Really brings it home. Eamon Jarvis, thank you very much for those alarming statistics. Well, as we mentioned, of course, we are kicking off this week a week-long back-to-college series called School Days. It is the changing face of college. We're going to be taking a look at pretty much everything from how to pay for college to the 6 courses that can help graduates land a job in today's economy. Bill?
Today, though, we're focusing on this student debt problem as it continues to climb over $1 trillion and graduates struggle to get a job. We can't help but ask the question, is college still worth it? Bill Bennett, of course, former Secretary of Education under President Reagan, is asking that very same question in his new book. It's created a lot of buzz. It's called Is College Worth It? He says a degree doesn't have the same guarantees that it used to. He joins us now along with Professor Anthony Carnevale of Georgetown University's Center on Education and the Workforce, who, of course, disagrees on that issue. Bill Bennett, the question I have to ask is, can you afford not to go to college in today's economy?
Sure you can. Look, intellectual capital has never had more value. The sheer dollar value of intellectual capital has never been greater. But where a college degree might have at one time been thought to be a proxy for intellectual talent and capital, it no longer can be. It's not just the debt. It's not just what you owe. A lot of studies have also looked at what students know when they go through 4 years of liberal arts, and many of those studies are pretty discouraging. And there's a third thing you might add to the what do you know and how much do you owe, which is where do you go? And what happens to you when you graduate? 50% of our college graduates are either unemployed or underemployed. There are other ways to succeed, to get jobs, and to consider your future. It used to be almost automatic that the advice would be go to college.
Right.
Now I think people have to pause and consider very carefully. It's still a good choice for some, but not for all.
Yeah, it feels like these days, you know, everybody feels they need to go, but not everybody should go. And I believe, Anthony, you're in the camp that disagrees on what Bill just said. State your case.
College pays. That is, the value of a college degree over a high school degree has risen from about 40 to more than 80% now. And even during the recession, that value is held up. So the one way to think about college is, yes, it's expensive. Yes, there are wide differences in the value of different degrees, but the only thing more expensive than going to college is not going to college.
But what about the idea, though, Anthony, that, you know, wages have not kept pace with the rate of inflation overall? So as college costs just continue to skyrocket, they far exceed the inflation rate in this country. Wage increases have been less than the inflation rate. So the cost, really, when you're thinking about it, yes, nominally it's going up, but inflation adjusted, it goes up much, much more. There are a lot of people who just cannot afford to go to college these days.
Well, that's absolutely right. There are a lot of people who cannot afford to go to college, and that's the problem. The other problem is that college is not a universal ticket to the middle class anymore. That's correct.
Well, then you're making Bill Bennett's case, aren't you?
No. What you make depends on what you take. But if you don't go to college, there are only about 15% of male high school graduates who will make over $35,000 a year if they don't get any post-secondary education or training. So
well,
no, college is tough, but compared to what?
So then, Bill, what would be the better alternatives? What would be the better alternatives? Because I certainly feel like I'm one of those people who went to university, and admittedly, you know, Australia's not nearly as expensive as the United States, but nonetheless, I went to university, I came out, and I had no real skills in the real world. What are the better alternatives that make you feel like even if I am going to spend a lot of money, at least it will be worth it, will give me some career skills?
Well, as Indiana Jones says, choose wisely. Look, it's not a case of more education or not. One of my arguments is against a lot of the presumptions that you have to go to a 4-year college. Why not get out and try a 2-year college? It can be a lot less expensive and you can get a better job. You know, if you graduate from the Jefferson College of Medical Science in Roanoke, Virginia, a 2-year program, you will make more money than if you graduate from the University of Virginia, a very prestigious 4-year program. So look carefully and choose carefully. Look, I'm advising a number of startup education companies, and they think there is a great market here, and I think they're right, in alternatives to the traditional 4-year monopoly. And I'm trying to help them.
Sorry to bust in there, but has the mindset of the employers, of the hirers, changed though?
Yes, well, you talk to the employers and they will tell you, a story in the Wall Street Journal today, they don't think college graduates are very well prepared, so they're looking at alternatives. We have things called MOOCs, massive open online courses, which are much less expensive for the student. Of course, the colleges don't like them because they would have to give up their monopoly. And it looks as if you can deliver the same knowledge and competence. So I think the times are changing. The dinosaurs are going to try to hold on to what they've got, but the times are definitely changing.
Anthony, I don't know if you've read Bill Bennett's new book, but he argues against what he calls the irrelevant courses. You know, basically the idea of the liberal arts education that has been around for so long. I mean, is it, given the cost today, is it more cost effective to go for a targeted education that has more practical applications in the real world than just studying history and literature and all the other things that make up a liberal arts education?
Keep in mind that at the moment the unemployment rate for college graduates is 4.5%. The unemployment rate for high school graduates is approaching 20%. The differences are undeniable. It is true that there are differences in value. And the other thing we should keep in mind here that Bill talks about a fair amount in his book, and I like that part of it, is that college is about values and interests. Ultimately, one of the purposes of going to college is to live more fully in your time, not just to get a job.
Okay.
We've got to leave it there.
Well, look,
we got to go, Bill. I'm sorry, we ran out of time.
Okay, I was a philosophy major. That's all I wanted to tell you. I'm a philosophy major.
So was I, Bill.
That was back in the day,
fine arts. Enough said. Okay,
he studied from Erasmus himself.